because I was imagining when I was thinking of what I wanted to ask you, I was imagining what kind of like if you were to randomly search up a podcast on YouTube, what questions they would be asking you. To me, it would be like, oh, tell me about the time you won this. Tell me about the time you won that. And to me, it almost is like a parallel with like when I was starting in jiu-jitsu as a kid, my craving wasn't to know all of the moves that a purple belt knew. My craving was to know, what is this person thinking at this given time? Because if you understand the thinking behind something, that's the major jump in your abilities. And I think you could say here too, for example, it's not, if you were to teach like say omoplata to a blue belt today and they've never seen it before, it's not going to change their world. But what you would change their world with would be like, notice the positioning of his shoulders and where they are. If they're square, then it's not going to happen. I'm just making stuff up. But if they're square, then this isn't going to happen. But that's made them vulnerable to this in the other direction. If they turn to defend it, now they're vulnerable in the opposite direction. And so to me, it's the moves are less important, and it's the thinking behind them that is everything. And I feel like that's true with everything, which is why I want to ask you that question about how do you strike that balance between pushing too hard and not pushing hard enough with your children.
I've spoken to a lot of the Gracie family members and people that have grown up on the mat, right? And I always ask them like, well, what did your parents do? How was it growing up? And they remember jiu-jitsu as something fun.
Right.
And it was just play. And then when it was time to, maybe adolescence, 12, 13, 14, he gets more like, more competitive and everything else. Of course, some kids are more competitive than others, and maybe they want to go do it earlier. But USA Wrestling has some great courses, like when you do some of the things, and they have a lot of data, right? And they tell you how many tournaments you should have your kids in when they're at a certain age. Right. And it's always like you want to have them become more serious when they're 12, 13, 14 years, and that was my intuition with my kids, right? It was so before that, it was just like I didn't actually put my Serenade into any tournament until she asked me to. Right. She actually they did some in-house tournaments. They did some in-house tournaments. All of them actually. No, Sona didn't because she didn't want to. But Sema did. Yeah. And Serenade, she did it, and then she asked me to do some bigger tournaments. Maybe when she was like 10, 11 or something like that.
Would it be fair to say that sort of the parent's job then is to in some ways be like the farmer? You get the dirt ready, you got the soil, you got the fertilizer, you throw the seeds in, you put the water in it, and if it grows, it grows.
Yeah. Well, I guess just going back to my mindset with my kids is like you were saying, I don't want to put my thing on them, But I talked to them when they were little, and I was like, listen, I want you guys to all have this a part of your life because I think it helps you become the best version of yourself. And I said it from the heart, like from, just really from the heart, and they all like nodded their head. They really got it, Yeah. And so that's why I'm very proud that Sona asked her sister, hey, when are you going to be on the mat? When are you going to do jiu-jitsu again? Because I'd like to do it as well. And I hope she, I want them to all, get their black belts and be good, good black belts as well. But just going back to the whole thing, I think that was my mindset, is just having them be consistent. Right. Have a goal and then just be consistent, because I want this to be a part of their lives rather than them winning anything, right? Yeah. And then Serenade has that competitive, that gene, whatever it is, she's wired a certain way. Right. And we ended up doing a tournament every month for I don't know how many years. And she was the season champ in Jiu-Jitsu World League she was like the top kid, like in so many years, and dominating and winning everything. And
And so how do you as a parent, when you have...
But it was from her, right? It was from her like wanting it. And now it's like I have to be, I have my know-how, my experience, right? And so I just try to like, give space. I really have to work hard to give space, right? Because I don't want to be a know-it-all and tell her, be that like controlling or anything. But I have to give, when it's time to say something, I have to say it. Right. But overall, I just give space, right? And I just make sure she follows through, and all the character things, like having a routine, the same thing as you do as a white belt. You have your schedule, you stick to your schedule, set your goals. Right. The things that I did, right, that helped me become great, And I told her too, I was like, man, you have a lot of potential to do whatever you want to do, right? But, she was competing a lot in jiu-jitsu, might as well, go to do your best or be your
Right.
best in the world, you know?
And
If
so-
she didn't have that potential, I wouldn't have said it. But if I don't say that, that's my bad, right?